Calgary Police Service has issued warrants for a Los Angeles man following a swatting incident last month. On Friday, December 22nd, 2017, at approximately 7:40 p.m., Calgary 911 received a call from a male who claimed that he had shot his father and was holding his mother and younger brother hostage. The caller provided information leading officers to believe that the incident occurred at an address located at the 2300 block of 17B Street Southwest here in Calgary, Alberta. Patrol officers, K9, and tactical units attended quickly the area that we believe the incident occurred, contained the scene, and began evacuating nearby units. While officers were on scene trying to confirm the reported information, Calgary 911 received another call from a female who lived at the address who believed that she was the victim of a swatting call. The female exited her residence, and the officer confirmed that the initial report of a shooting and hostage scenario was false. During this incident, a substantial amount of police resources were utilized to contain the scene and protect citizens in Calgary from further harm. It is believed that the female victim was the target because of our online persona. Following this incident, the investigation was handed over to members of the Calgary Police Cyber Forensic Crime Scenes Unit. Investigators quickly identified a suspect who had made contact online with that female earlier that day. It is believed the same suspect was involved in similar swatting calls in other jurisdictions within Canada and outside of Canada as well. Warrants have now been issued for Tyler Barris, 25 years of age, out of Los Angeles, California. And warrants include 1 count each of falsely reporting an offense that has been committed, fraud, false information by letter of telecommunication, and mischief. The Calgary Police Service takes swatting calls extremely seriously and will investigate each incident thoroughly. Swatting calls have the potential to create significant risk for both public and responding officers, and can require an extensive amount of resources to respond and investigate. And those resources that are allocated cannot respond to other calls for service. That's my statement. So, any questions?
Inspector, how frustrating is this as a police officer and as a force, given, I mean, as you said, this tied up a lot of resources for what turned out to be essentially nothing? Yeah.
Very frustrating, because we have to take these calls seriously, and we have to take them at face value based on the information that we receive. We try to corroborate a lot of that information as quickly as we can to make sure that we have the appropriate resources allocated, but it takes time. These incidents take time to confirm or deny. Very frustrating for us, and again, it puts not just officers, but it puts the public at risk, right? Because you have officers responding, we containing a scene, quite often a large scene, and based on the information that we have, this information was very specific, and of course, we responded in force to make sure that we can protect not just the alleged victim, but also the public.
Can you tell us anything about what was specifically said that made you believe it was a real threat?
Yes, I can. Some of the specifics were that the caller indicated that he had shot his dad, and he was also holding his mom and his younger brother at gunpoint, hostage.
How is it actually possible for someone to call 911 from California and make this sort of this claim, calling 911 from such a far distance away?
And you know, I'm not an expert in cyber crimes by any means, but this is not a new phenomena. You can online, you can report really anything in any part of the country with a computer. It is not that difficult to do. But I can't give you specifics on how it's being done, but it's not that hard to do. It really isn't.
Can you talk a little bit about what may have prompted this person to specifically target this woman?
You know, I don't necessarily think that that person was targeted specifically, because swatting calls quite often are random. People pick randomly, whether they're associates, people that they know, or just randomly, right? And whether it's online, it's an online persona, it's somebody that they followed, or just random, right? We've seen swatting calls with movie stars quite often. Last year, I think several high-profile actors were targeted in swatting calls. So it is not uncommon. Yeah.
But you mentioned the online persona in this case. Was there something that triggered this attack from that online persona?
Don't have the specifics on it. I apologize for that, but I know there's the victim was a person that is online quite often. So, and again, you look at how connected we are, how connected most people are. Facebook, internet, Snapchat, all of these online forums. So that person was out there.
You mentioned this is the same man that has been charged with other offenses of this type in the U.S.
We believe so. Yeah.
And also very prominently by a Kansas case that also happened last month.
I can't confirm that, but there's a good indication that that person could be the same person.
You don't know it's the same person?
Don't know.
Sure?
Don't know for sure.
It's
no.
the same name, but you don't know it's the same person.
Yeah, I can confirm that. I haven't been in direct contact with Kansas City Police, but we know that Kansas City had an incident on the 28th of December. Our incident occurred on the 22nd, and of course, as you know, the Kansas City incident resulted in a fatality.
So this incident, you tracked down this person independently from the person who's charged, independently from anything else they had done, and anything else they had been charged with.
Yeah.
How does that investigation in the U.S. and others that you mentioned affect your investigation in the warrant currently?
You know, it actually doesn't, because we were able to track the footprint that that person left behind. And I think people need to realize that this is a real crime, and sometimes people don't realize that. Just because it's not done in person, it is a real crime, and we certainly will fully investigate these occurrences. But anybody leaves a footprint at any time. So you do something online, it can be traced, right?
Are you able to confirm that the victim in this case was her online persona was related to online gaming?
I can't confirm that, no. I'm sorry.
And you were saying before that these types of incidents, I mean, are you seeing more of these, or what can you tell us about that and that sort of thing here in Canada?
You know, I can't give you specific numbers, but I've certainly been at the operations center for the past 3 years, and I have seen an increase in these calls. Traditionally, swatting calls, we get very general bomb calls. Somebody calls into a school, into a business, there's a bomb here, they're very general, right? And of course, our response is the same. This call concerned us because it was very specific, and it sounded very real. And it took us a bit of time to confirm that this call was in fact a hoax. But it takes that amount of time. And realize too that this incident occurred in an apartment building, so so we don't just have a single family dwelling. We have multiple stories, multiple apartments. We have multiple officers and resources inside and out. So that itself causes a great concern for us, right?
So were guns actually drawn on anybody in this incident?
Can you be more specific? Like guns drawn by officers?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Approaching the door of this apartment unit.
I can't give you specifics on the tactics used, but any of these responses, of course, hostage taking, firearm involved. Our tactical unit is the best equipped to handle that. They took in a perimeter right away. We have officers on the outside as well. most officers would have their firearm ready. Yeah, absolutely.
And how quickly was that drawn back when you got the 911 call from the woman herself?
And again, our information drives our tactics. So as soon as we made contact with that female, it lowered the threshold for us. Once we established communication, we knew that that person might be the alleged victim, and it was confirmed fairly quickly that she is not, in fact, the victim. The event itself got de-escalated fairly quickly at that point.
What would you best advise people in terms of social media and online presence? I mean, you can't say for certain what this woman was into, but is there anything Calgarians could be doing to protect themselves?
I think just be careful what you put out there. Just really be aware that what you put out there is out there for anybody to see. And you know what? Just imagine anybody can make these calls. You don't have to be very sophisticated. You don't have to have really sophisticated equipment. We know that swatters can be teenagers in their bedroom making a swatting call while mom and dad watch TV. Right? It is possible. So I would say just be aware what's out there. If you have a family, just be aware what your kids are doing. In fact, especially online, because a lot of this can be really traced back to improper online use.
I just want to confirm,
Yeah.
So this person you said was targeted, you believe, because of their online persona. So just to
Yeah.
confirm, the suspect was able to find her address online and specifically target her. This isn't he just found a random address in Calgary and played a prank on someone?
I think he, from what I know about the call, and that was we were actually on duty on that call. That was our call. We know that he made contact with her earlier that day. I can't say for sure whether it was online contact or phone contact, but the address was given over the phone. There was background noises and so on and so forth. So we didn't have any reason not to believe that this was a real call, but we believe that he targeted her specifically based on her online persona.
Did they have a relationship? Like, were they friends before?
I don't think they were.
But they had contact earlier in the day separate from this whole incident?
We believe that they did, yes.
And her address was online, or she gave it over the phone? Sorry.
At what point?
How did he get her address?
Very easy. Google somebody.
You said it was given over the phone. Were you referring to during the call?
Yeah, we made, once the initial call unfolded, she called 911 as well while we're responding to the call. And she called us and she said, I believe that I'm being swatted. I believe she was told by an online colleague or friend that she was being swatted.
So it wasn't because she saw police officers?
No.
I see.
No.
Excuse me, the warrants, maybe I just don't understand this, but if he's in the States,
Yeah.
is it just when they come up to Canada, now they have a warrant out for the arrest, or they be arrested?
Typically it is. I mean, there wouldn't be an extradition on a case like that, but our cybercrimes unit will coordinate and communicate with Kansas City Police Department and other areas, other jurisdictions on these cases. So whether they're calls in Europe, in North America, anywhere else, that's all going to be coordinated through the arresting agency. So LA would be the arresting agency where he was arrested, where he's taken into custody.
So they can arrest him on charges
Yeah.
that you put
Yeah.
out?
He wouldn't go through court on those charges, but again, the communication between our department, our cybercrimes unit, and Kansas City and or Los Angeles, that'll be all coordinated. So
does he face a reprimand specifically for this incident if he doesn't come to Canada?
if it's confirmed that he is in fact the offender, the same offender, yeah, if he would come into Canada, he would be arrested
But
under
only
those
if he
warrants.
comes into Canada?
Yeah.
So otherwise nothing happens to him?
We don't know yet, right?
But it wouldn't be an extradition case?
No, wouldn't be an extradition. No.
Was this man a suspect before the Kansas City incident happened?
I don't believe so, but I can't say for sure.
But this incident happened before the Kansas
Date.
incident?
Yeah, our incident happened on the 22nd.
22nd.
Kansas
28th
City
was the-
happened on the 28th, yeah.
But did you know about him before the 28th? Did you know it was this person? This suspect?
No, no. No, he wasn't on our radar. No.
Was that just limited abilities, like cross-border policing, or is this a random person?
I mean, you have to trace this call, right? So, so our call was on the 22nd. So that was 6-7 days later. That call occurred in Kansas City, right? So, I mean, of course, and I know I watched the news, and I read the call, and I right away triggered something. You know, I'm like, this sounds very familiar. So, but of course, we don't know. We can't say for sure unless that forensic examination is done on the voice recording, on the call itself, alibis being produced, and so on and so forth, right? And so that's where our cyber crimes unit will communicate with the arresting jurisdictions.
Has there been good collaboration between the two?
As far as I know, it has, yeah. Yeah.
You say this is becoming more and more popular, more and more common. Do you have any statistics on how many calls CPS deals with swatting cases on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or even a monthly basis?
No, I don't have any numbers for you at this point, but I know, having been in the operations center for the past 3 years, I've seen quite a few calls. Quite often we see them examine days in schools where a lot of these swatting calls come in. Bomb threats are made in schools or court buildings or anything like that. But that one, again, that one was very specific, and that one really caused us a great deal of concern because it was so violently described and very specific in nature, right?
The bomb threat that was called into the Southland Leisure Center yesterday, was that a swatting call?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Wasn't working yesterday on shift, so I couldn't say for sure.
And sorry, I'm just unclear. Did you home in on, did it take till the new year to home in on Mr. Burris as the suspect? Or did you figure that out right after December 22nd? Did it take until this week
No.
to figure out who it was?
It took some time. It took some time.
How much time?
Can't say for sure. I mean, we're working the 22nd off shift. That gets passed on to a different line, gets passed on to the cyber crimes unit. They assign a primary investigator. So then the communication with Kansas City and LA, right? So these investigations take time. Right?
So you didn't identify him as a suspect until after the Wichita incident?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
after that you
Yeah.
identified
Yeah.
him as a suspect?
Yeah.
Okay. And was it in collaboration with those other law enforcement agencies that you identified him?
As far as I know, and I don't know for sure what the investigation is unfolding, because of course
cyber crimes is primary on this file. So our initial response was dealing with that incident and then taking that information and moving it forward to the primary unit, which is the cyber crimes unit, right? And then they're starting to communicate with different jurisdictions. So our involvement was very general.
One other thing you touched on
Yeah.
that I just wanted to confirm, you said that it was somebody else online that had warned the woman that she may be being targeted in a swatting crime?
Yeah, we believe that somebody else contacted the alleged victim, that she was being swatted. So
And how were they given that information?
I can't say. I'm not sure.
Was that information, did that come right from the suspect to her?
No, we don't believe so. We believe somebody else was in contact with her,
Was she
an
live
acquaintance.
streaming
Don't know for sure. Can't tell you.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Does the victim and the suspect know each other on online personas, or?
I don't think so. I have no information to believe that was the case.
How did she know that she was the target of this swatting?
I think she was told by somebody else online. So whether she was live streaming or being monitored by somebody else, I can't say for sure.
And how did that other person know that this was her?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Did this call
Not sure.
come from a 403 or 587 or an Alberta number?
I don't have the exact number in front of me, so I couldn't tell you.
If it's coming from elsewhere, perhaps, is there no way for police to detect that this in advance could be, a hoax before they get there?
Can't say for sure. I mean, a lot of this information can come through online, right? It's not necessarily a phone call directly. It can go through online a stream. So don't know for sure. I can't say for sure the exact number that was called. So I'm at a loss at this point.
And
so
it was a woman who was involved in this, not a minor?
The
Was the woman not a
alleged
minor?
the alleged victim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, can you tell us her age?
Can't tell you. I don't have that information.
Was she
in front of me.
alone in the
oriented.
apartment? Was it her apartment?
I believe she was alone in her apartment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if she was a renter or if she owned it. Can't say for sure.